I had been fixing that 2008 Mustang for almost 2 years, part by part, on nights when the garage lights were off, and Grace thought I was asleep. It wasn't the most beautiful car in Dayton. The dark blue paint still had a scratch near the rear wheel. The radio sometimes lost its signal, and the passenger door had to be slammed harder than usual. But the engine ran smoothly. The brakes were new. The tires were new. On the windshield, I stuck a note: "Wherever you go, call Dad when the car makes a strange noise." On the day Grace turned 18, we celebrated her birthday right in the Miller Auto Repair Garage. No fancy balloons, no waiters. Just a chocolate cake baked by the neighbor lady, a few classmates, 2 mechanics who had worked with me for over 10 years, and the yellow lights on the steel beams. I gave the girl 2 gifts. The first was the key to the Mustang. The second was a darkened brass key. "What key is this, Dad?" "The back door of the garage." Grace laughed. "I already have the front door key. From today, you have the key to every door here." I didn't explain. There are things fathers often hide in very short sentences. I wanted her to understand that no matter where college took her, this place would always have a door that was never locked to her. After that, I placed Anna's old wooden box into Grace's hands. The smile on her lips froze. "Mom left this for me, from before she passed away." I had intended to say that Anna loved her more than any rumor that had ever hurt her. I had intended to tell Grace to open the box when she was alone. But right then, a deep engine roar echoed from the street. 3 black SUVs stopped in front of the garage. The conversation fell silent. A man in a suit stepped out first. Behind him were 2 women carrying briefcases, and then a tall woman with dark brown hair, wearing a cream-colored coat. She walked across the oil-stained cement, as if she had rehearsed every step. I recognized her immediately. Olivia Hart. 12 years could not erase the face of the person who once stood under a church awning, holding a sleeping little girl and begging me to keep her safe. Grace looked at me. Perhaps she saw my hands clenching so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Behind Olivia, a silver sports car was brought up, a red ribbon tied on its hood. An assistant opened a leather briefcase, revealing files bearing the name Grace Miller, trust fund documents, and bookmarked pages. Olivia stopped in front of the girl. Her eyes trembled, but her voice was perfectly controlled. "Grace," she said, "I have come to bring you back to the life that should have belonged to you." The entire garage sank into silence. Grace didn't look at the car, didn't look at the files. She only looked at me. "Dad," she asked very softly, "do you know who she is?" And in that moment, I understood that everything I had tried to keep secret for 12 years had finally found its way back. 12 years ago, Grace appeared at the garage door on a late October afternoon. The Dayton sky that day was gray, like a piece of old metal. Rain fell in thin streaks on the glass door, and I was bending under the hood of a Chevrolet when I heard Anna call my name. "David, someone wants to see you." Standing next to my wife was Margaret Sloan, the county social worker. I had met her a few times at the community center, where our garage repaired cars for free for women trying to start their lives over. But that day, Margaret didn't come alone. A girl so small that the backpack on her shoulders looked almost half her size was standing behind her. She wore a faded red coat, its long sleeves covering almost her entire hands. Her brown hair was hastily tied with a rubber band. Her sneakers were covered in mud, but she stood very straight, as if showing even a little tiredness would let the whole world know she had nowhere else to go. "This is Grace," Margaret said. The girl didn't say hello. She looked at me, then at Anna, then at the door behind her, as if calculating the distance to run. Margaret pulled me aside. "Her emergency shelter is only available until tonight. The next family isn't ready to take her. I need a safe place for a few days." "Why me?" Margaret looked over her shoulder toward Grace. "Because her mother put your name on the file. I felt Anna freeze behind me. Margaret handed me an envelope with crumpled corners. Inside was only a handwritten piece of paper. David, you are the only one I believe can keep her safe. No full name. No explanation. Just one sentence, as if the writer had used all her remaining strength to place her trust in me. That night, Grace sat at the kitchen table but didn't eat. Anna placed chicken soup bread and a glass of milk in front of her. She only broke the bread into small pieces, secretly stuffing 2 pieces into her pocket. Anna saw it but said nothing. Before going to bed, Grace asked, "How long am I staying here?" "A few days," I replied. The girl looked down. "Where will I go after that?" I didn't know how to answer. That night, Anna found Grace sleeping in her clothes, her shoes still on her feet, and the backpack hugged tightly to her chest. The next morning, all of her belongings were neatly packed, as if she had never been there. 3 days became 2 weeks. 2 weeks became a month. When Margaret said Grace might have to move to a group home in Columbus, I looked at the little girl sitting on the garage floor, using chalk to draw small circles around each oil stain, and understood that I couldn't let her be moved away again like a package. That evening, I told Anna that I wanted to register to become official foster parents. Michael, who was 16 at the time, was standing out in the hallway. He didn't hear the entire conversation. He only saw the envelope in my hand and the words of a strange woman. "Do you know her mother?" he asked. I looked at Anna, then at Grace sleeping on the sofa. "I know enough to understand that she needs us." Michael didn't ask anything else. But my son's eyes that day were the first sign that the silence I chose to protect a child would eventually make the whole family pay the price. The rumors started from a question Michael didn't get an answer to. He saw the note from the strange woman. Then, he remembered the times I left the garage in the evenings, the cash I sent to a treatment center in Cincinnati, and the old photo on my phone, a young woman crying in my arms under a church awning. Michael told his grandmother. His grandmother called my sister. In less than a week, the relatives who used to come to our house every Thanksgiving had pieced all the scattered fragments into a complete story. Grace was my illegitimate child. The woman in the photo was my mistress. And Anna was a wife too weak to leave a cheating husband. No one asked Anna if that was true. They just looked at her with pitying eyes. During the first Sunday dinner Grace sat with the family, my sister pulled Anna into the kitchen. I didn't hear the whole conversation, but I clearly heard one sentence. "You don't have to raise that woman's child to prove you're a good person." Anna returned to the table with red eyes, but still put more potatoes on Grace's plate. The girl looked around, then gently put her fork down. Did I make everyone mad? The room was silent. I wanted to say no, but children recognize lies faster than adults think. "It's not your fault," Anna replied. Grace bowed her head. That wasn't the answer to what she really wanted to know, whether she would be sent away for making everyone unhappy. After dinner, Michael blocked me outside the garage. "You just need to tell the truth. There are things that are not mine to tell. If you're innocent, why don't you deny it? Because denying it isn't enough. People will ask who that woman is, what happened to her, why Grace is here." Michael laughed, but there was no joy in his laugh. "So you'd rather let everyone think you cheated on Mom?" I looked through the glass door. Anna was helping Grace put on her coat. The girl stood still, her arms hanging loose, as if afraid that even a wrong movement could get her kicked out of the house she had just gotten used to. "If they need to hate someone so she can be left in peace," I said, "let them hate me." Michael looked at me for a long time. "You always talk as if you're the only one who has to sacrifice." He turned away before I could answer. That night, Anna stood by the bedroom window. Down in the yard, Grace had left her shoes next to the bed, instead of wearing them to sleep. It was the first time she believed she could stay until morning. "Your silence is making people write the story for you," Anna said. I promised to protect her mother's identity. I know. Then what do you want me to do? Anna turned to look at me. I want you to understand that a secret doesn't just protect one person. Sometimes it hurts everyone standing outside of it. I listened to her. But at the time, I didn't truly understand. I thought that if I bore all the judgment myself, my wife and children would be at peace. I didn't know that a family can survive a heartbreaking truth much easier than living too long inside an unspoken suspicion that no one dares to name. Grace didn't start trusting us from the day she was brought to the house. Trust came much slower. It came one morning when she broke Anna's yellow ceramic mug. The shattering sound in the kitchen made Grace freeze. Her hands were pressed tightly against her body, her face pale as if waiting for a familiar rage. Anna just got the broom. Are you hurt? Grace shook her head. That's good then. If a mug breaks, we buy another one. The girl looked at Anna for a long time. Is that it? That's it. Grace sat down on the floor and cried. Not because of the mug, but because for the first time, a small mistake didn't cost her a home. From that day, Anna set aside a cabinet in the kitchen and stuck a note on it, Grace's food. At first, the girl still hid crackers under her pillow. I didn't stop her. I just quietly replaced them whenever they got too hard and put a few new packets in the cabinet. One night, I caught Grace standing in the kitchen, holding a box of cereal. Are you hungry? The girl looked down. I will return it, no need. I don't take things for free. I pulled a chair out. Then tomorrow morning, you help me wipe the tools in the garage. We're even, Grace nodded, as if we had just signed an important contract. From then on, every afternoon after school, she would sit in the corner of the garage with her books. I worked under the cars, while Grace read her lessons aloud. When encountering a difficult math problem, she frowned for a long time but refused to ask. I had to relearn fractions to help her. Once, I solved 3 calculations wrong in a row. Grace looked at the paper and laughed. You are not good at math. I'm pretending so you can feel more confident. You even spelled your name wrong in the corner of the paper. That detail is not important. That was the first time she called me Dad. She said it so naturally, to the point that both of us fell silent afterward. At school, things were not as easy. A boy who heard adults gossiping called Grace Mr. Miller's secret child. She pushed him off his chair and was suspended for 2 days. On the way back, Grace sat close to the car door. I'm sorry, she said. I know you don't want me to cause trouble. I pulled the car over. You are not a trouble. Grace didn't look at me. But everyone hates you because of me. That is their choice. Do you hate me? It took me a few seconds to answer, because there are questions too painful when spoken by a child. No, I said. But I also don't want you to use your pain to hurt others. The next day, Grace went back to school and apologized to the boy. By the time she was 10, she no longer packed her backpack every morning. By the time she was 11, she stopped asking how long she would stay. By the time she was 12, Grace started leaving her drawings on the fridge, as if believing that tomorrow they would still be there. I used to think a home was made of adoption papers, a private room, or sharing a last name. Later I realized it is built from much smaller things. A cabinet with your name on it. A broken mug that nobody gets mad about. A person who still sits beside you when you make a mistake. And thousands of ordinary mornings when a child wakes up and realizes they still haven't been left behind. My family didn't fall apart in one big argument. It fractured bit by bit through empty chairs at dinner, unanswered calls, and holidays when people made up all kinds of excuses not to return. Michael was the first to leave. At 18, he received a scholarship to a university in Cleveland. The night before he left, I found him in the garage, taking family photos off the old metal cabinet. What are you doing? If you want to build a new family, the least I can do is take the rest of the old family with me. I knew he was talking about Grace. She never took your place. Michael turned around. His eyes were red, but his voice was cold. You sold Grandpa's motorcycle to pay her adoption lawyer fees. You skipped my last football game because she had a fever. Mom has to sit and listen to the whole town pity her because you won't say who that woman is. Your mom knows the truth, but I don't. That sentence silenced me. Michael nodded, as if the silence had just confirmed everything he suspected. You always protect her, he said. You just never thought that we needed to be protected too. The next morning, Michael left home without hugging me. Ben stayed, but a different distance formed between us. He didn't accuse me like his brother. He just stopped asking about things. In family photos, Ben still stood next to Grace, but always left a small gap between them, as if afraid that getting too close would mean betraying Michael. Only Anna continued to keep everyone from drifting further apart. She called Michael every Sunday, though most calls only lasted a few minutes. She sent birthday cards, photos of Grace, and tidbits of news about the garage. Every Thanksgiving, Anna still set 5 plates on the table. Michael won't come, I once said. Anna adjusted the fork in front of her son's seat. But if he comes and doesn't see his place, he'll think we've stopped waiting. When Grace was 13, Anna started getting tired more often. At first she said it was just age, then anemia, then a lingering virus. By the time the doctors discovered ovarian cancer, the disease had progressed too far. During her months of treatment, Anna still worried about all of us. She reminded Grace to do her homework, reminded Ben to call his brother, and reminded me to eat something not from the hospital vending machine. One evening, when Grace fell asleep on the chair next to the hospital bed, Anna held my hand. You have to tell the kids, I promised. A promise shouldn't become a room that locks all of us inside. I looked at Grace. She was hugging Anna's sweater as if afraid that just by letting go, the only mother she had ever known would disappear. It's not the right time yet, I said. Anna closed her eyes. A tear rolled toward her temple. Your problem, David, is that you always think you can choose the time that hurts others the least. 3 weeks before she passed away, Anna called the family lawyer to the hospital. She asked to record a video and seal it along with some documents in the old wooden box. It was only to be given to Grace on her 18th birthday. I didn't know what Anna said in that video. I only know that after she died, Michael didn't attend the funeral. And for the first time in my life, I wondered if my silence truly protected my family, or just forced the people I loved to learn how to hurt without me by their side. After Anna passed away, Grace and I learned to live in a house still full of her traces. Anna's coat remained hanging behind the door for almost a year. Her chicken soup recipe was still stuck on the fridge. Every Sunday evening, I still unconsciously took out 3 plates before remembering the dining table now only held 2 people. Grace never reminded me to put those things away. She just quietly sat with me in the empty spaces Anna left behind. In her senior year of high school, Grace was accepted into the social work program at the University of Cincinnati. She wanted to work with children growing up in the foster care system, kids who always carried a backpack because they didn't know where they would wake up the next morning. Grace's scholarship covered most of her tuition, but didn't include dorm fees, books, and insurance. I can study at community college for the first 2 years, Grace said. Or I will work part-time. You've worked enough to get here, and aren't you tired enough yet? I smiled, but my right knee hurt so much I had to hold onto the table just to stand straight. The doctor had scheduled surgery for June. I called to cancel 3 days after Grace received her admission letter. I told her the garage was too busy. The truth was that if I took 6 weeks off, I couldn't pay her dorm deposit. I started taking in more cars after closing time. When night fell, when Grace thought I had gone home, I was still lying under pickup trucks, my hands numb from the cold and painkillers in my pocket. Then I sold the 1967 Pontiac GTO. Anna and I had bought it when we first got married, when it was just a rusty frame in a farm's shed. It took us 11 years to restore. Anna chose the dark red paint. I fixed the engine. The two boys used to sit in the back seat during Independence Day parades. The day the buyer took the car away, Grace came home earlier than I expected. She stood in the middle of the yard, looking at the empty space where the Pontiac used to be parked. "Did you sell the car? I don't drive it much anymore. Don't lie to me." I turned my face away. Grace walked into the garage, placing her admission letter on the table. "I don't want to go to school by taking away the last thing you still kept of Mom. You aren't taking anything." "Then, what is this? It's my choice." Tears welled up in Grace's eyes. "You lost Mom. Lost Michael. Barely talk to Ben anymore. How much more are you planning to lose because of me?" I wanted to say that she was worth more than any car, any night shift, and any pain I could endure. But I knew if I said it like that, Grace would again hear it as a debt. So, I just put my hand on her shoulder. "You are not taking my life, Grace. I am choosing where to put the good parts that remain of it." Grace cried in my arms like she did when she was little. I didn't tell her that I still had the retirement fund Anna left behind. I had promised to keep it for all 3 children, even the ones who no longer called home. A father sometimes sacrifices, not because he believes he will be remembered. They do so because love, if it is truly love, cannot only be for those who still stand close to them. I returned to the present when Olivia called Grace's name for the second time. "We should talk privately," she said. Grace was still standing by the Mustang I had just given her. One hand grasped the garage key, the other held Anna's wooden box. Behind Olivia, the silver sports car reflected the old yellow lights of the garage, so shiny that every oil stain on the cement seemed out of place. "Are you my biological mother?" Grace asked. Olivia gave a slight nod, just a nod, but I saw Grace's shoulders stiffen. 12 years of waiting for an explanation, finally answered by a movement so small it was cruel. "Why are you only coming now?" An assistant stepped forward, but Olivia raised her hand to stop him. "Because I want to fix what I did." Grace looked at the 3 SUVs, the team of lawyers, and the car with the red ribbon. With all of this, for the first time, the confidence on Olivia's face wavered. She opened the cream-colored folder. Inside was an admission letter from a prestigious private university in Chicago, documents for an apartment near Lake Michigan, and papers establishing a trust fund named Grace Olivia Hart. The number on the first page was large enough to save my garage, pay all the tuition, and ensure Grace would never have to worry about money the way we used to. Olivia spoke slowly, as if every sentence had been prepared in advance. "You will have the opportunity to study anywhere you want, a house, an investment for the future. When you are ready, you can join my company's charitable foundation. No one is forcing you to do anything." She paused, then looked at the garage key in Grace's hand. "You don't need to continue living a struggling life just because you feel indebted to the past." That sentence hurt me, more than I wanted to admit. Grace turned to look at me. I didn't know what was in her eyes, then anger, confusion, or a curiosity she felt guilty for showing. I only knew I wasn't allowed to make her choose out of pity for me. "If you want to hear what she has to say," I told her, "you should listen." Olivia placed the key to the silver car in the palm of Grace's hand. "The car is yours. No strings attached." A woman in her group opened another briefcase. "Just some standard paperwork," she said. "A privacy protection plan, asset transfer, and support for the reunion process." Grace didn't take the pen that was offered. She flipped through the pages. I saw the headings printed in fine print: image usage rights, media coordination, family information, confidentiality, unifying public messaging. What is unifying public messaging? Grace asked. Olivia answered very quickly, just so the press doesn't turn our past into an ugly story. Our past. Grace, I'm trying to protect you. The girl looked up. Or protect yourself. The whole garage fell silent. Out on the street, a camera had been set up next to Olivia's car. The cameraman tried to act like he was waiting for a candid moment, but the lens was pointed straight at us. Then I understood. Olivia didn't just come to reunite with her daughter. She had arrived with a complete version of the story, and was only missing Grace's signature to make it the truth. Grace continued flipping through the agreement until her finger stopped at a line near the bottom of a page. All previous correspondence between Olivia Hart and Grace Miller's guardian will be considered private information. She read it again slower. Then she looked up at me. What correspondence? I didn't answer immediately. Just a few seconds of silence, but I saw everything I had hidden for years begin to collapse in her eyes. Olivia turned to me. David, she has the right to know. I almost laughed. After 12 years, that woman was the one talking to me about the right to know the truth. Grace put the folder down. You have letters from her. I looked at Anna's wooden box in the girl's hands. Beneath the velvet lining at the bottom was a small key that Grace hadn't seen yet. Anna knew this day would come. Perhaps she also knew I wouldn't have the courage to open that door myself. I led Grace into the office at the back of the garage. In the low drawer under the desk was a gray metal box. I had kept it there for 8 years, next to tax papers and insurance records, among the most ordinary things, as if that could make the secret inside less dangerous. Grace unlocked it. There were 7 letters. The first was sent when she was 10. Dear Grace, I saw a picture of you in the school play. You wore a blue dress. I wish I was brave enough to sit in the audience. The third came on her 13th birthday. I am doing better. I think this summer we might be able to meet. I just need to arrange a few more things. The 6th was sent 2 years ago. I bought a ticket to Dayton. I sat at the airport for 3 hours, then went back. I don't know how to explain having made you wait this long. Grace read them one by one. Neither of us said anything. When she finished reading, she set them down very gently, as if afraid paper could break too. She wrote to me, yes, you knew she was alive. Yes, you knew she wanted to see me. I looked at Olivia. There were times she said she wanted to meet. Then she would disappear for months, sometimes years. Once she promised to come to your birthday, then went back into rehab right before the trip. Once she wanted to take you away without a stable plan. Grace clutched the letter in her hand. So you decided I couldn't know. I decided you shouldn't grow up waiting for someone who might never show up. You could have told me. You were only 10. Then I was 13, 16. Now I am 18. I had no answers left that were good enough. I was scared, I confessed. Every time she wrote, you might start hoping again. And if she didn't come, I didn't know how many more times I'd have to pick you up. Tears fell onto the letter. You always said she never came back. I said she never showed up. Grace looked at me as if seeing a stranger standing in her father's clothes for the first time. That is not the same truth. I wanted to step forward, but she backed away. For the first time since she was 6, Grace held the letters to her chest, just like she used to hug that small backpack. And I understood that while trying to protect her from feeling abandoned, I myself had become the one who hid her from a part of her own life. Grace walked out of the office with 7 letters held to her chest. The people in the garage immediately fell silent. No one knew what had just happened, but everyone realized the girl who walked in and the young woman who walked out were no longer the same. Olivia approached. Grace, you don't have to decide anything today. Grace looked at her. But you brought lawyers, cameras, a car, and a whole new life to my birthday. Olivia paused. You are right. That response surprised me. I had expected a defense, but she just stood there, looking for the first time more like a mother afraid of losing her child than a businesswoman afraid of losing control. Grace placed the agreement on the table. I will not sign. The woman holding the briefcase was about to speak, but Olivia stopped her. No one is going to force her. Grace still held the silver car key in her hand. She looked at the Mustang I had fixed, then at the 3 SUVs waiting on the street. I saw the struggle on her face. Not between rich and poor, but between two parts of the past, opening their doors at the same time. I want to go with her for a while, Grace said. The sentence was very soft, but I felt as if something dropped straight into the middle of my chest. Okay, I replied. Grace looked at me, seemingly waiting for me to object. Aren't you going to stop me? I had stopped her for 8 years with unopened letters. I called it protection because that name was more comforting than the truth. I was afraid that if Grace knew Olivia, still thought of her, one day she would realize I wasn't the only one she could love. I have decided for you too many times, I said. This time you must choose yourself. Grace's eyes grew red. You can't say it like I'm leaving you. I'm not saying that, but you're thinking it. I turned my face away. Perhaps a father can hide Bill's illness and sleepless nights, but it is very hard to hide fear from the child who has learned to read his every silence. I was nearly 60. My right knee was unoperated on. The garage was 2 months behind on loans. Michael didn't call. Ben only texted on holidays. And Olivia could give Grace the best university, rooms with roofs that didn't leak, and a future where she wouldn't have to hear me calculate every bill. I was afraid she would look at her life and realize she had lived far too long in my small one. Grace stepped forward, but didn't hug me. I just needed to know the truth. I understand. No, she said. You don't understand. I love you. But today, I don't know how much to trust you. That sentence hurt more than her leaving. Olivia opened the SUV door for Grace. Before stepping in, the girl took the garage key off its ring, looked at it for a moment, then put it in her pocket. The car rolled away down the street. I stood in front of the garage until the taillights disappeared. On the table remained the Mustang key, the uncut birthday cake, and the agreement Grace refused to sign. I used to think the hardest part of being a father was keeping a child around. That day, I understood there are times when loving means opening your hands, even without knowing if the one you love will still choose to return. I didn't know what happened after the SUV took Grace away from the garage. Only much later did she tell me. Olivia took Grace to a house overlooking the Miami River. Everything there was spacious, quiet, and so perfect that there was no sign a real person had ever lived inside. On the living room table, flowers, photographs, and a folder about Grace's future had already been laid out. But Grace didn't open any of it. She only placed Anna's wooden box on the table. The small key, hidden under the velvet, fit the lock on the front perfectly. When the lid popped open, Grace saw adoption papers, an envelope bearing her name, and a silver USB drive. Olivia stood by the door. Do you want me to stay? Grace shook her head. For the first time all day, Olivia didn't argue. She closed the door. In the video, Anna sat on her hospital bed. Her hair had almost all fallen out. Her face was thin, but her smile was exactly the same as those mornings Grace walked into the kitchen and saw her making pancakes. Hello, my darling, Anna said. If you are watching this video, you are already 18. And perhaps the secrets adults kept have started finding their way to you. Grace had to pause the video for a few minutes before continuing. Anna looked straight into the camera. The first thing you need to know is that your dad never betrayed me. You are not the result of an affair. David was never Olivia's lover. She recounted that many years ago. David used to repair cars for free for a women's support center. Olivia was very young then, undergoing treatment, and afraid her wealthy family would use their power to control Grace. David helped her find a lawyer, a shelter, and a safe treatment program. Your dad kept the secret, Anna said, not because he had anything to be ashamed of, but because he promised not to let Olivia's past become a stain that followed you. Grace cried when she heard those words, but Anna hadn't stopped. Your dad is a good man. However, good people can still hurt others when they believe love gives them the right to decide for the ones they love. Anna looked down, taking a labored breath. David always wanted to shoulder the pain before it reached us. He didn't understand that sometimes, when one person holds all the truth, the rest are not protected. They are just left in the dark. Then she looked straight at Grace. You do not owe your dad because he raised you. You also do not owe Olivia forgiveness because she gave birth to you. Love is not a loan, and a family should not be built on a feeling of debt. At the end of the video, Anna smiled through her tears. Grace, you have the right to love both of them. You also have the right to be angry at both of them. But don't let their mistakes force you to live the rest of your life like a child who is always afraid of choosing the wrong home. The screen went dark. Grace sat alone for a long time. That night, she knew I had never betrayed Anna. But she also understood that my loving her with my whole life didn't make hiding those letters the right thing to do. The truth vindicated me. At the same time, it forced me to face something much harder. A father can sacrifice everything for his child, but still has to learn how to apologize for the wounds he caused while trying to protect them. After the video ended, Grace sat alone in the living room for nearly an hour. Olivia didn't step in. She only left a glass of water outside the door, as if finally understanding that there are distances that cannot be crossed just by showing up at the right time. When Grace came out, the house was quieter. The lawyers and the media team were no longer there. Only Olivia stood by the window, still wearing the cream-colored coat, but having taken off her shoes, hugging her elbows like a person who didn't know where to put herself. Grace placed the folder on the table. Why did you come today? Olivia turned around. I told you. I want to make things right. That is not the whole truth. Grace opened the folder to the page titled Family Story. Announcement Plan. Inside was an interview schedule, draft press releases, and prepared answers. One sentence was in bold. Olivia Hart spent years quietly searching for her daughter, and today the family has finally been reunited. Grace placed her finger on that line. You knew where I lived. Olivia didn't deny it. Then why does the press release say you searched for me? I tried to know. You knew. Grace's voice wasn't loud, but Olivia fell silent. At the back of the folder were documents regarding a merger between Hart Medical Technologies and a national healthcare corporation. At the top was the announcement date, 3 weeks away. An attached email showed that a reporter had sent questions about Grace's adoption records. Grace understood. If you didn't show up first, someone else would tell this story before you. Olivia looked down. Yes, just that one word made the room colder. So the car, the trust fund, and the cameras outside the garage, all of it was for you to control the narrative. Not all of it. Grace laughed, but the laugh broke halfway. Which part do you want me to believe? Olivia took a step forward, then stopped. I thought of you every day, but you didn't come. I wrote letters, but you didn't knock on the door. Olivia closed her eyes. Because with every passing year, showing up became harder. When you were 6, I told myself I needed to be stable. When you were 10, I thought you already had a family. When you were 13, I was afraid you would ask why I hadn't come sooner. By the time you were 16, I had no answers left that wouldn't make me a coward. Grace looked at her. And now a journalist found your records. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. I panicked. But when I saw your picture in the file, I also realized if I kept waiting, I would lose you without ever truly trying. So did you come because you missed me, or because you were afraid of losing your company? Olivia was silent for a very long time. Then she said what her communications team would probably never allow in any press release. Grace turned her face away. Olivia continued, I wanted you, but I also wanted to be forgiven, without having to stand in front of everything I did. I thought if I gave you enough, you would look to the future instead of asking about the past. You didn't want a reunion, Grace said. You wanted a beautiful ending. Olivia didn't argue. Perhaps that's true. Grace picked up the silver car key, then put it back on the table. I don't know who you can become in my life yet. Olivia nodded, tears falling, but she didn't wipe them away. But I know you don't get to keep telling my story for me. For the first time since appearing at the garage, Olivia offered no more promises, gifts, or explanations. She only asked, where do you want to go? Grace took the garage key from her pocket. Home, and for the first time in 12 years, Olivia understood that where a child is born isn't always the place they call home. There are people who spend their whole lives loving us, but do not know how to say it. They hide their pain, unpaid bills, sleepless nights, and deepest fears, just so we can move forward without feeling like a burden. David was wrong to withhold the truth. Olivia was wrong to let fear turn into 12 years of absence. Michael and Ben were also wrong to let doubt grow bigger than family ties. But what allows a family to still be healed is not having never made mistakes. It is that at some point, everyone is brave enough to say, I hurt you, I am sorry, and if you allow me, I will keep showing up. Sometimes, a second chance doesn't start with a hug, a word of forgiveness, or a perfect ending. It just starts with a door left open, and a person who truly walks through that door, over and over again. If in your life there is someone who has silently loved you, sacrificed for you, or always saved a place for you to return to, do not wait until it is too late to say you are grateful to them. Call them. Go visit them. Say words of love while they can still hear them. Because money can change a person's future, but only sincere love helps them remember where home truly is. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you believe that family is made not only by bloodlines, but also by the people who choose to stay, share this story with someone you cherish. And remember, sometimes a word of love spoken at the right time can heal years of silence.